financial windfalls happen, right? You have friends who've had a financial windfall. You see it in the paper. Maybe it's a lottery win. Maybe it's the sale of a business. But sometimes a large sum of money arrives after something traumatic. So maybe this is like a civil settlement after a crime. Maybe it's a life insurance payout after the death of someone super close to you. My next guest works with people navigating trauma, and the financial dynamic can be a part of that. So we thought, hey, that's a perfect conversation for us to have to provide some insight into the path that many people are walking here. Our guest is Shannon Moroney. She is author, trauma therapist, internationally recognized restorative justice advocate, and she's here to talk about the emotional dynamics of this intersection of trauma and finances. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm so happy to be here, Bruce. And I think we're going to have a conversation where we can put our heads together and talk about the emotions and then the practical side of money so that we can best advise listeners and our own clients.
Let's talk about some of the circumstances I referenced to, but some of the circumstances that one might see where there is this the dollars have arrived, but it's not simple. It's not like, oh, great, I scratched the ticket and hooray. It could be any of a number of other things. What would be some examples of that?
Yeah, you gave sort of the three main categories. So we would have a life insurance settlement or something that comes from the sudden and unimagined, unprepared for loss of someone close to you. We might have a something coming from a legal action, so that could be a civil settlement. I personally specialize in working with survivors of sexual harm. Or other sort of big T traumas. You could be part of a class action lawsuit of something similar in nature, or something like a bus accident where a number of people were injured. And this can create even more complexity because your injuries may be ranked against the injuries of other people.
Right.
And that can feel icky and sticky. And it could even be something historical that's happened to you. So it could be a land claims matter in Indigenous communities or large scale institutional harm.
What are some of the common emotions that your clients become present to as they look at this money in their life? I'm sure it is not simple. What would be some of the things that they're processing given these particular circumstances?
Yes, great question. It's not simple at all. So we can see anything from relief, some sense of maybe both closure and then opening to a new chapter. These are things on a positive side, but we don't always get to that until we've sorted out the complexities like shame, sorrow, guilt or survivor's guilt, like or I got more than somebody else with a different injury, or I don't really deserve this because maybe you come into this situation already feeling terrible about yourself because you've been through years of criminal trial and then a civil trial, and the very terrible thing that happened to you made you feel terrible about yourself. So you're already feeling insecure. We can also have uh, feelings of like the money itself is dirty.
Mm.
Don't want it. It comes from a terrible place. It will, if I buy anything with it, it will always remind me of that awful thing that happened to me. All the way to just like fear is a really big one. Fear, I won't manage it properly. I have to be really noble and good with my money and do something extraordinary. There's a lot of pressure on victims of crime in particular to be good. Of course, to even go on the stand, you have to be perfect. You have to be this incredible person. It's your credibility. So that can translate over later into what do I do with this money? Feeling burdened, feeling uncertain. And even just sometimes people say, I feel stupid. I don't know what to do with it. I've never had this kind of money. I've always dreamed of it, but I've never wanted it in this way.
And there are things to do with it. People
Yes.
who have money, whatever the circumstances, they have to figure out where to invest it, how to manage it, what they're going to spend on it. As you engage with clients, how do you help them figure out some of those choices and whether they're ready to make those choices or whether actually they need to focus on their healing journey first and kind of move that down to the road when clarity is more accessible to them.
Beautifully put. So we always say, to try to avoid making any major decisions before at least 1 year after the traumatic experience or after the sudden life change, or even if it's at this point coming into this money, just to give yourself some time. And everyone needs support to work through these things. So it's an emotionally deep financial planner. It's a therapist. It's a very, very trusted and knowledgeable friend, although that can be a little bit tricky as well. So we do want you to have to be able to wait and support and have support to get to a place emotionally where you can see or experience the money as neutral rather than emotionally loaded. In all trauma therapy, we're always looking to neutralize the nervous system, get it out of this fight, flight, freeze response and into rest and digest, where we can remember the bad things that happened to us, but we're not reliving them in the body. So you need time to do that. And then
Trust
yeah.
is an enormous issue for people who have dealt with a traumatic experience, rebuilding it, finding it, an ability to trust themselves, an ability to trust others. And then here we are with a bank account with so many more zeros in it. Yeah. How do they build trust with an advisor, with a friend or a family member who now may relate to them differently because of what's in their bank account?
Yes, exactly. So I encourage my clients, first of all, to get very, very clear on what their relationship with money has been historically, because we all have actually a deeply intimate relationship with money, that we interact with it every day. And like all relationships, it can be healthy, it can be very up and down, it can be sort of this black and white or all or nothing thinking. And so we often spend some time talking about what is your history with money, what's your relationship into money, and working through some of that. And then what I want for my clients is for them to be able to get to a place where they can make their decisions about what to do with this money based on their values and not on their trauma, and not from the place of fear of what will other people think? Am I doing the quote unquote right thing? And so getting to understand what your values really are and how would you like this money to make meaning in your life? It can be, lots of people will experience the sense that this money is meant to pay them back for their losses. But you can't be paid back. There's no amount of money that can ever be placed on the life of a loved one, on your life, on your injuries. So I talked to them about seeing it as a pay forward. This is about how to move from where you are now into the life that you want to have that feels congruent with the most important beliefs you have, the things that how you want to feel in your life. And for a lot of people, the feelings after trauma are, I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. I want to feel in control. And most people who've endured serious trauma do not like surprises. So they want to have predictability in their lives. So helping to understand all of those things is what can guide people to make a decision that is emotionally congruent for them.
There's a level to which skills matter here in the financial world.
Yes.
And there's such a wide continuum in terms of skills that people have or really do not have. And if you've received a financial windfall, there are some things you need to know how to do. How do you suggest that, offer that, support that with someone who may be really fragile and trying to come back to skills of like getting out of bed in the morning and brushing their hair?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I have questions for you about this first, because I wanted to ask, when I said, we're going to take some time with this, don't worry to my clients, we've got time. We're going to help you get to a place of making a decision, getting to feel better, getting clarity. I want to know what should they do short term with this lump sum of money, because usually it does come to these practical questions. I'm just going to immediately pay off all my debt. I don't know what to do with it, so I'm just going to put it in my checking account for until I decide. So I wanted to get from you maybe some practical suggestions on how we can make that money work for them, even while they're just waiting to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And then I kind of usually say to somebody, let's break it down into your long-term needs, maybe a short-term want. What is like something that's just fun that you can do with this? What portion of this can you use to, one of my clients just went on a trip and somewhere she'd never been. She's like, I want to do that. And that's for me and something to enjoy. Another client of mine, we talked about legacy for a lost loved one. So what's important to you in the name of your loved one? Do you want to set up a little bursary at their university? Do you want to plant a tree? What are the things that you want? How do you want to use the money to memorialize um, essentially the loss or the bad thing that happened or the good life of a person, and that can help alleviate or deal with the pressure to be really responsible with it.
Yeah. I think you and I share a value around taking time. So put that in a cashable GIC at your bank and do nothing, because the context is the most critical aspect here. It is for everybody, but in this for this population in particular, so much more important. The other thing that I'd say, and I love the part about the tree and memorializing, it is also, I would say this for everybody, but for this group of folks in particular, I'd say self-care. And self-care can have a dollar sign attached. So therapy, massage, time in the sun, all those sorts of things become like a mission critical part of the budget in the way that they probably weren't before.
Yeah. Bruce, is there something that people can do with the money to help them manage it in that short term? Like, can they, sort of put it all in one place and then be, sort of almost issued like a paycheck, a monthly amount? Because I know for some people, even though they may really value therapy, they really want that, they know they need it. Part of the money was even earmarked for that. But then when it comes to actually spending it, it's very, very hard because of that trust thing that we talked about. What if I never have this kind of money again? What if I need it later on?
Yeah.
So do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I think having someone on your team, a great financial advisor, preferably one who isn't compensated in a commission-based way, in which they're incented to sell products, and there are advice-only planners out there. Because I think one of the most important steps from a purely financial standpoint is looking at what the assumptions are for what's important to this individual, how long they're going to live, what's important from a legacy standpoint, to determine a cost of living or a level of income that's going to be sustainable over time. Really an incredible intersection of the things that we both know well and are so passionate about. I'm afraid that's the time that we have, but I hope this is the first of a number of conversations on something. Credit Canada has a whole financial coaching program for women who are survivors of intimate partner violence. And so we're really learning a lot about what it means to have a trauma-informed perspective. And obviously, there isn't financial windfall for those women, but there's so much of what you're talking about that really resonates across people who didn't just have like the sort of normal way life plods along. There's been something deeply upsetting, deeply traumatic, deeply harmful for them that they need to live inside of, or not live inside of. What's a better phrase? They need to acknowledge and validate, and then continue to create a new future.
Absolutely. And I just always say it is okay for something good to happen after something.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Shannon, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Bruce.
Shannon Moroney, author, trauma therapist, restorative justice expert, and believer like me in the power and opportunity to use money as a tool to have the life you want.